Welcome to One Question at a Time, the TSI series. Question number 19. For which of the following value of x is the functions f of x equal 4 minus x squared, not defined as a real number? And we know that to define as a real numbers, of the square root of a have to be greater than or equal to 0, or a is non-negative. This is the same thing as it equals 0 or it greater than 0, so a greater than or equal to 0. So we do the same. We try to find which one is defined as the real numbers. Then the one is not follow that interval will be not defined as a real number. So let's say this is the real numbers case. We will have 4 minus x squared have to be greater than or equal to 0. Now we have to solve for the inequality. We do the same thing as if this side greater than or equal side is equal side, just like the equations. So we will subtract for both sides. We cancel that. On the left hand side we have x squared, negative x squared greater than or equal to negative 4. Now we multiply by negative 1 both sides. When we multiply the negative 1 both sides, making sure that we have to change the directions of the inequality. That is one of the rules we have to memorize. Okay, so this is because of multiply with like the negative numbers, you have to change the directions of equality. Alright, so on the left hand side now we have x squared. On the right hand side we have 4. So we have to find 2 points when x squared equal 4. We usually solve for that problem, right? X squared equal 4. And remember, we also have a formula that when we have x squared equal a, and then we take the square root both sides, then it will become plus or minus square root of a. Okay, so x equal plus or minus square root of a. Alright, that's the formula. Okay, so now we have to take the square root of x squared, so square root of x squared that equal plus or minus square root of 4. Okay, now x will be equal plus or minus 2. You see that the square root and the square will be cancelled, so you only have left with x. Alright, now we have two number when is make x squared equal 4. That negative 2 and 2. Okay, so now we have 3 intervals. Where that intervals? Okay, the first interval is here. The second interval is here. And the third interval is here. Okay, so we have yellow regions light green reason and then dark green reason. Why we have that 3? Because we know that for that 3 reason, we will have some point at some reason, the value of x will be less than x squared, will be less than 4, and some will be greater than 4, because the equal 4 is at -2. So we choose the red, okay? That point we choose, so it's closed point. We choose it include, okay? Now, if you choose one testing point to see if the value of x here will be make x squared less than 4, let's choose -10. Okay, so those circle like that is the test point, okay? Alright, so if it's -10, it will be 100. 100 will be, so we plug in like that, -10 squared, and we compare to 4. That's 100, and 100 have to be greater than 4. So the yellow reason is will produce all of the, will have the numbers of x will produce x squared, and x squared will be greater than 4. Okay? But for this one, we need it less than, okay? So next we choose 0 at the test point. In between the -2 and 2, we choose 0, okay? Still test point. Now 0 square, that's 0. And it's less than or equal to 4. Yes. Right? That's true. So this is the reason we need. This is the reason we choose. When all value of x will make x squared less than 4, less than or equal to 4. Let's test the one on the right side of the 2, right? So let's test 10. I have 10 right here, still test point. Right, so we have 10 squared, that is 100, and that is greater than 4. So that is the reason we don't choose, okay? We don't choose in this case. Okay, it's greater than 4. Alright, so to be defined as the real numbers, x have to be in between -2 and 2, okay, to be defined. So we see that it include right here is -2, 0, and 2. That in the red reason. That in the red reason. See that? Now the only one is D, is 4. 4 is not in the red reason. So it means it's not defined as the real numbers. In the red reason mean that defined as the real numbers. Okay? So because 4 is right here. That number 4. That in the not defined reason. So D will be the right answer. So let's go back. At first, we will try to find what defined as a real number, what interval that f of x is defined as a real number. bisect the expression under the square root greater than or equal to 0, then solve for it. Solve for inequality. Then the second step is we try to find the value of x was not in that interval, so that not defined as real numbers. Okay. So the defined interval in this case is in red. Okay, so it includes the -2 because that 2 and -2 make it equal 0 when x equals 0, when x equals 4, so of course it equals 4, right? So this one is the same thing at that result. So x equals -2 or 2. That make it x squared equal 4, and then because it equals 4, so that 2 and -2 include in the interval, the defined interval. Thank you for participating in this series. See you next time.